What are you doing?
Ah! Fuck! Oh! Don't scare me like that, man!
Sorry. So what are you doing?
The hell does it look like I'm doing?
Letting the wall give you a fellatio?
Wrong and gross. No, we have a mouse infestation and I'm trying to purge it.
Right. And your strategy is to disappoint them to death.
Disparaging remark taken into consideration.
How many mice we talking here anyway? Like around 10, 20?
Huh? Oh, no. Just one.
What?
Yeah, no, there's just been this one that's constantly running around and stealing the iconic wheel of cheese that I keep in my bedroom.
You know, I've always wondered how that thing stayed fresh at room temperature.
It doesn't.
Ah. Wait, so that wee creature took the whole thing?
Yeah, honestly, it was pretty impressive to watch, which is kind of why I haven't stopped him during the act yet.
Okay, hold on. Back up a second. If there is just a single mouse, why did you call it an infestation a second ago? You do know that word specifically refers to more than one pest, right?
I just proclaimed the existence of a mouse that has the ability to defy nature by lifting 20 times its own weight, and all you're concerned about is my grammar?
Aye?
No! In regards to your claim, the word infestation can refer to any number of pests, including just one.
What? Are you stupid? Brandon, if you're stupid, you have to tell me.
That's just what that means! That's what that's always meant!
What kind of crack-ass world do you live in where one creature can make up a whole infestation?
It is a mouse that is infesting my space, therefore making it an infestation. Are you just making a big deal out of this to gloat about your possession and my lack of a college degree again?
Basic English and grammar are so beneath the requirements for a college degree, and if you can't grasp that, you shouldn't be allowed to step foot in a college, let alone get a degree.
Aha! Well, joke's on you, I have stepped foot in a college once. To, use their bathroom. It smelled like crack in there. And then I found crack in there.
Riveting. And you know what? If you're gonna be this committed to stupidity, I'll let the internet prove you wrong then.
Right, because the internet's track record in honesty has been flawless. You'd be more likely to hear a truthful answer from a married couple, which is saying a lot, you know what I mean? Up top!
Okay, here. The presence of an unusually large number of insects or animals in a place. Wow, I was right. What an unforeseen outcome. You know me being right.
Great, well I hope this petty triumph helps you sleep at night. Now, if you're not going to be any actual help in regards to my mouse and issue, then feel free to leave at any time.
Look, I'm sorry. Have you tried, coaxing it out with a piece of cheese or something?
That wouldn't work. You would know that cheese is bait.
What are you talking? It's a mouse! It's not gonna know the difference between bait cheese and normal cheese.
Yeah, well, watch one shove a 12-pound wheel of the stuff through a 2-inch gap without tearing it, and then try telling me that to my face.
Aye, fair enough, I guess. So what is your plan to coax it out then?
Well...
And I swear, Brandon, if you say you got some nonsensical scheme that involves you talking about a mouse-related video game in hopes to gain its trust or something equally as stupid, I will lose the last drop of respect I had for you. Do you ever get tired of being extremely predictable?
Can I just talk about my stupid game now?
Pop quiz! When did Sonic the Hedgehog first appear on a Nintendo console? Yeah, I bet you weren't expecting to be tested this early on. Also, I must add a disclaimer that this is a trick question. Got your answer? Good. Now, if you said Secret of Mana for the SNES in the form of a tiny enemy named Pebbler, then I'd say...
What?
But I'd also say you're wrong, because the real answer was the game Speedy Gonzales Los Gatos Bandidos for the Super Nintendo. You might also be thinking to yourself, but Brandon, Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't appear in that game at all. To which I reply, it's Spirit he does. It's Spirit! Ah, yes, the Looney Tunes. Never watched much of the cartoons featuring these characters, except for maybe like the Looney Tunes show and Space Jam, I guess.
Someone's gonna have to go to my house and pick up my basketball gear.
To your house? In 3D land?
I definitely was more of a Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network fan as a kid, which is basically another way of saying I'm not too sure how familiar I'll be with some of the aspects of this game. But that's not what I'm here to judge anyways, so... So, Speedy Gonzales Los Gatos Bandidos was developed by Sunsoft, who... I guess we're actually pretty familiar with creating Looney Tunes themed games with past works such as Tasmania, Roadrunners Death Valley Rally, Porky Pig's Haunted Holiday, Looney Tunes B-Ball, Bugs Bunny Rabbit Rampage, Daffy Duck the Marvin missions. Oh shit, they made Lemmings? The Sega Genesis version? How did I not know that? Alright, you get the idea though. With their vast knowledge and experience with the Warner Brothers IP, and, you know, just making games in general, surely they know what the hell they're doing here. So I guess now's a better time than any to do my favorite pastime, insertion, and my second favorite pastime, playing video games. And with that disturbing information out of the way, and also after watching the plot synopsis for every 90s platformer ever, kidnapping, our journey to once again be the rescuer begins. Amiibo indeed, my friend. Alright, first level is booting up. Let's see what we're greeted with.
Oh, he's still looking at me.
Okay, so far this is actually not bad. Like, platformers obviously aren't the most interesting thing to discuss in terms of quality. Oh, I like how this game lets me jump over a hole better than this game. But I want to believe everyone knows what bad controls feel like. And this is not an example of that. Everything feels responsive, jumps aren't too floaty or weighed down, and the momentum feels earned and natural.
Holy shit, there he is! It's Sonic! Yeah!
Yeah, when I said this game has Sonic inspiration, I was not joking. So, to avoid getting repetitive, let's just go ahead and name all the Sonic-inspired aspects of this game in one consecutive list. First thing here, this running animation. Do I even need to say it? Let's see. You can look up and down, which moves the camera, like in classic Sonic. There's spring-like contraptions everywhere. The jumping sound effect is noticeably similar to that of Sonic's. We got balancing animations. Both titles don't have a run button. Instead, you build up speed by going down slopes. There's a shoe power-up that gives you a temporary speed boost. We got some spinning signposts, albeit possessing a different mechanic. And there's these tubes that function exactly like the ones in Chemical Plant Zone. Now, despite all that, this game isn't a complete one-to-one with Sonic's. There are a good amount of differences in terms of gameplay. For one, rings are now cheese. That's cute. And the health system is completely separated from the currency, instead using Zelda hearts that you can refill by finding more hearts or expand by finding even bigger hearts. You know, just like Zelda. Another unique aspect to this title is that there is no rolling. Speedy here has not learned the ways of breaking your fucking spine, and instead opts for the much simpler approach of using his tiny pathetic mouse legs to dropkick everything in sight. And due to this move, using a separate command button, it immediately breaks classic Sonic's one button for every action formula that was originally integrated to vastly improve the optimization of playstyles akin to it. You know, such as this thing. But I'm not one to start criticizing design choices like this so soon. How actually useful this move is compared to something like the spin attack is yet to be determined. So sit your butt down, because I'm about to drop the most average opinion for what might be the most average function to ever come out of this incredibly average game by telling you, in the most average way.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty average.
Yeah!
No, but in all seriousness, the move does kill all your momentum, which heavily disrupts the flow of gameplay and overall is just pretty annoying to successfully use. Hey, and while we're still on the topic of things the game Speedy Gonzales, Gatos, Bandidos does differently than that, other lame-ass title, we also have ourselves a new objective. Well, more specifically, an optional one to do on top of completing the level as normal. Just as the story goes, your mouse compadres have been catnapped, and you gotta save them. Each level gives you a set amount of mice spread around the entire course for you to find and rescue, and all you get upon doing so is pocket lint and a result tally. Your value is nothing more than numbers to me. No, and I guess they also act as checkpoints or something. You know, I actually prefer this objective being optional with a minimal reward, so now I don't have to feel bad for not doing that. Whew, and after all that, we finally made it to the second level of the game.
Oh, Jesus! The other way! Look the other way!
Oh, and look. We also have a world map too! A staple in the SNES platformer genre. It even lets you return to the previous world for a do-over in case you missed any captured mice the last time.
That's adorable. It thinks I care.
Oh yeah, that's another interesting thing about this game. The worlds plus their respective themes. And I got a crisp Andrew Jackson for the first person to guess what the theme for the first stage is. I'm just kidding. I'm broke. First world's just grass. A tired concept even back in 1995. It's rough out there for platformer fans. But the level layout is still pretty solid, and does a decent job at helping the player familiarize themselves with the core mechanics of gameplay. Running, jumping, not running, filing a divorce. The game gives you plenty of opportunities to master at least 3 out of 4 of those things. Now the only question left is to figure out what events led you to this moment in the first place. Oh, also, I do really like the sunset in the background. It's not really relevant right now, but I just thought it was worth mentioning. Hey, this place looks familiar. Weird. Now we enter Shirley Woods, and boy, do I like the way this forest theme is handled here. With mushrooms, tall trees you can platform on, log cabins, and having the large mountains in the background make it look like it's nighttime. Until you get just high enough to see it's actually still sunset. It really helps this one visually stand out from the rest. Genuinely, one of the most appealing world themes in my opinion. Only point deductions I'll really give this level, are towards the enemy and pit placement. And how dog-ass they can be, giving the player pretty much 0 time to react, which is kinda dumb, especially for a game that wants you to run fast. Like, these occasional warning signs are nice and all, but they're very sparse, and stuff like kind of fucking stinky. Ah, a mouse's natural habitat. Very populated buildings. Again, I will definitely commend the backdrop for really making the area look that much more expressive and alive. The music is nice, all that fun stuff. Though I do have a small complaint regarding the audio mixing in some areas. Nothing major, of course, you know, just sometimes you'll be walking and then...
Yeah, you motherfucker! Oh god, why is it so loud?
What the heck is going on in here?
The audio leveling is really bad. You need to run.
What does that even mean?
I'm finally being punished for my terrible personality.
Why do you always end up playing weird shit like this?
Save yourself!
Holy shit, this enemy will come out of nowhere immediately and jackhammer a fucking hole into my eardrum. No attempts at attacking the actual character on screen either, just damaging your ear's HP, then taking 3 full kicks to be defeated. Rude. However, other than that one enemy I blew way out of proportion, there's really only one other notable factor about this zone. Level. It fucking sucks! Yep, welcome to the rest of the entire game, I'm not kidding. After World 2, the quality of these levels take a 90-degree nosedive into the Earth's core. You know what also does that? Speedy here, after every 3 meters due to these very non-visible and barely avoidable bottomless pits. The only way I can describe the level design in this zone is, like, blocky and unforgiving. It clashes very heavily with the Sonic-like momentum and gameplay mechanics. Things like these small slopes and speed shoes will beckon you to build up velocity, yet literally, the second you do that, some bullshit gets thrown at you, or it gets cut off by a wall, or immediate change in direction. And no, this is not a get good problem either. Even the very few speedruns of this game, you barely see those spinning feet for more than like 4 seconds. The momentum mechanic gets shafted hard due to the overabundance of slow precision platforming to the point where I'm just wondering why they bothered to include it in the first place, other than that Speedy is supposed to be a fast character. You know, how do we challenge our players that just want to go fast? You test their patience, of course. Genius! Give them a taste of that exhilarating speed, only to immediately rip it away. Anyways, buy our game. And again, it's like this for every world and level onward. Random mechanics will just show up, like once or twice, with 0 context as to how to use them. Like here in the next world, there's this potion lying on the floor you're supposed to drink, which allows you to extrude flames orally, or as it's more commonly called fire breathing, to ignite the cauldron. But in order to pick it up and use it, you have to press X on the controller, which is a button you've literally never had to use prior. Why would anyone assume you'd now have to press it in front of this tiny bottle that could very easily be mistaken as just decoration? Or here in the snowy cabins, it took me way longer than I'm willing to admit. Only like 15 minutes, but that's still too long, to notice that the polar bear lying on the ground was in fact not a background element, but instead a bounce pad to access more of the level. You know, obviously. But oh man, what really grinds my patience down are the level mechanics that are obvious to you.
Alright, Does anyone have an idea on how we can challenge the player in this speed-based platformer? What if we integrated a lot of slopes, but with some barriers so the better reaction time you have, the longer you can build up speed? And obviously we can place a couple enemies in pits around, but prioritize making sure there's some sort of warning, or at least making sure the punishment for getting hit isn't too severe. We're obviously trying to make a game inspired heavily by Sonic the Hedgehog, so I think it'd be best to try and understand what those games did right, while still crafting something unique. Awful. Fired. Leave our office now. What? Yep, get your stuff. Leave. In fact, whoever hired you, also fired. Yeah, go tell them that on your way out. Stupid imbecile. Lasers.
Who thought these were okay? A wide hitbox, and they have an opening window of like 1 second, and they take like 5 decades to briefly shut off, and they appear like every couple meters, and sometimes they'll even appear back to back. This could not be any farther away from an actual obstacle. It's a sorry excuse for a challenge that does nothing more than waste the already limited time limit. Seriously, between all the bull-honky enemy placement, moving platforms, and death lasers, the thing I struggled with the most in this space zone was trying to outpace the countdown, and I barely even made it past that. Well, this seems awfully familiar. Oh my god, this game never ends. Please, I have like 1 life left, and if I die, I have to do the whole thing all over again. Hey, I did it.
And it's just that easy.
And shockingly enough, even with all that said and done, good lord, I still have some thoughts. Yeah, this one isn't really relevant though. Essentially, what you can expect with Speedy Gonzales Los Gatos Bandidos on the SNES is a Sonic game made by developers who have no fucking idea on what makes a Sonic game actually good. Every level will always and actively punish you for even daring to use one of your core mechanics. Running. But if you go too slow, then you're at the mercy of the very unforgiving and short time limit. And if you lose all your lives and continues due to things completely out of your control, well, back to the beginning with your bitch ass. Fuck you. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't me claiming that classic Sonic is exempt from unfair/unreactable hazard placement. However, what it also has is an insurance mechanic. Rings. It's a simple setup, really. You grab rings, get hit, rings fall out of you, picks them up again, and keep going. As long as you have them, you can take as many stabs to the head, neck, chest, and groindle as your heart desires. You weirdo. However, in Speedy's case, rings are now replaced with the health system from Zelda. You can only get hit a set amount of times, and the only way to replenish your hearts is to just find them around the level. And on top of that, they're rare as hell, which is pretty much the source of the main problem. You got a trial and error type of level design, but heavily limit the amount of times you can take that trial. The risk of screwing up is 10 times more detrimental than they are in the Hedgehog games, leading to you just tiptoeing through every level in fear. No joke, when I got to the final levels, every single time Speedy would start running down a slope, I felt the fear of God in me, because I knew something was gonna show up seconds later to end my run, and that fear was justified every time. Oh, and I almost completely forgot that this game is supposed to have bosses. Mainly because there's like 3, all placed in very inconsistent locations, and they slowly get progressively more lame with each passing fight. Which isn't saying much either, considering the first one is already pretty ass. Anyways, here's my speedrun of the final boss. An exhilarating game for sure, with a weird as hell reason for even existing. But what I think is even more sad than the last 80% of this title is how the only reason people know of this thing in the first place is due to... More people know about this bootleg than the original game. Ironic though, isn't it? Still from Sonic, only for Sonic to steal right back. Alright, let me give some context on what this thing even is by painting a picture of my first interaction with it. It's a cool summer night in 2008. You're not any older than 5 years. The youthful age where the most anyone expected from you was just being able to shit inside the toilet.
I missed.
You're sitting in front of the Windows Vista family computer. You insert a disk labeled Emulator and ROMs, boot up a program called ZSNES, and decide to scroll through the long catalog of games preloaded onto it. For the longest time, you've mainly been sticking with the same couple games that were immediately recognizable to you from other titles you've played in the past. Mario Bros, Zelda, Pac-Man, Dig Dug. However, this time, you felt like trying something new, and after scrolling a bit, something catches your eye. A game simply labeled Sonic, which immediately raises some concerns.
You're not supposed to be here.
Might as well give it a whirl. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting. I mean, there he is, exactly as advertised. Yeah, plus a tumor. And I'm in hell. Who? What? Who? What? Who? Okay. Wow. There is a lot to unpack here. Which is why I'm not gonna do any of that. Cause it's Sonic the Hedgehog, baby! What is there not to get? You run fast, you free living beings, and of course, you kick enemies. Oh my god, this is just Speedy Gonzales, Gatos, Bandidos. Of course, that last part of realization never actually happened back then. In reality, as a little kid, I had no idea this thing was a bootleg, let alone what that word even meant, due to lack of the original source ever being a part of my life. I know, shocker, the 2000s baby never heard of the obscure Looney Tunes Super Nintendo game. Fucking failure. I mean, there was also the more embarrassing factor, being how I could never get past level 2, cause beyond that lied very damning evidence proving this was, in fact, not a Sonic game. However, because of my poor platforming, I ended up being 100% convinced this thing was official for the longest time. Well, that was until I reached the age of 9 years old and finally had the bombshell of truth dropped onto me.
Babies come from what?
A week later, I also learned about the bootleg thing. Now that I'm a big, strong, tax-paying adult, though, it's nice to finally be able to see this game through to the end. Playing on the same emulator and ROM file I used all those years ago, nonetheless. Well, it's nice to know even if I was competent as a child, I still never would have seen the conclusion to this thing. Nothing a modern emulator can't fix. Man, I really was not missing out on much, huh? Honestly, though, official or not, I have a fondness for this stupid ROM hack thing. It's literally just the original Speedy Gonzales Gatos Bandidos game with half the worlds cut out, a shuffled soundtrack, and Sonic and Mario sprites just slapped in there. It was made by a collection of people called the Twin Eagles Group, who were most known for their SNES ROM hacks, which is apparent. However, despite being a living lawsuit, this thing still somehow managed to become more well-known and remembered than its original source. Yeah, so apparently I wasn't the only one to randomly stumble upon this parasitic abomination. This bootleg managed to slink its way into thousands of other people's lists of definitely officially obtained ROM folders. And I can only assume that kind of coincidence is very much a product of the past. See, back then, old Nintendo and Sega games would constantly get burned onto discs by that one guy you were introduced to via a mutual friend, who happened to get their collection of Nintendo and Sega games from someone else they slightly knew from, like, work or talked with once at a Radio Shack. So, essentially, those same exact lists containing the bootleg would just get constantly passed around, which is why tons of people nowadays, coincidentally, all have memories of this one specific ROM hack of a very obscure game. Everyone just kind of borrowed that shit from each other, which allowed Sonic on the SNES to spread like a disease. Truthfully, the entire existence of this Speedy Gonzales game is just super fucking bizarre. It's an attempt to take a Warner Brothers IP and make a video game heavily inspired by Sonic the Hedgehog out of it for a console that Sonic the Hedgehog never had any affiliation with. That being said, the attempt was so poor, the only thing actually running running here is the running theme of garbage level design, while you yourself, on the other hand, will just be tiptoeing around every corner due to the deluge of unfair obstacles that will all murder your face. Then, a year later, some people stripped down the already rudimentary Sonic-inspired game to make an actual Sonic experience by just reskinning sprites, editing levels, and rearranging their orders. Then, that version of the game becomes more well-known and played compared to its source due to an endless chain of ROM list copying. What the why in hell? But hey, Mario and Sonic are good friends forever, so I guess it's all fine in the end. Yeah.
Well, that didn't work.
Gee, what gave it away, Einstein? The fact it's an animal, physically incapable of understanding human speech? Or maybe how you got so caught up in your little rant that you missed it leaving the hole to steal another 12 pounds of rotund cheddar?
What? Aw. Yeah, what do you know about what can and can't understand things anyways, Mr. Sentient Drawing on a Piece of Cardboard? Your existence is an affront to God, nature, and competent artists.
Hurtful.
I just don't understand what went wrong. I mean, the topic should have been relatable enough to the mouse, causing him to feel more comfortable around me, and letting me earn his trust. Maybe there was something about the game specifically that didn't click with him.
I think it's your brain that's not clicking. I'm actually concerned you said that whole sentence unironically.
I wonder if it was the Mexican theme that was unrelatable to him.
The only thing more concerning than that is the mystery of how you somehow passed any form of public education.
Oh my god, is the mouse racist?
Like, for God's sakes, your bank account's probably more barren than your brain, so I know for a fact you couldn't have bribed him either.
Maybe he just doesn't like retro games. Typical casual consumer.
You know, your lack of any sort of intelligence contrasts greatly with the fact you're somehow still alive. Everything about your current standing in the world is such an anomaly that at this point, I'm just impressed you still remember how to breathe.
Well, I'm standing here because you were nice enough to pay for the house, remember?
Correction, we split the mortgage, but every month you say, just tack it on to next month's bill, I'll pay you later.
I told you, I'm in a rough spot financially.
You've been saying that for the last 2.5 years now.
Well, it's a very long rough spot.
Whatever, I'm not doing the same argument for the third time this week. Let's just stay on topic. So, what is your next brilliant plan to get rid of that thing?
Well, I was gonna try talking about a few more games.
You know what? I'm not actually sure why I bothered asking. I forgot that not only are you broke, you're one-dimensional as well.
Oh my, did somebody piss in your coffee this morning? Why are you critiquing every little action I make?
I'm just saying, you ever think there might be more to life than 12-pound cheese wheels and talking about video games? You know, like going outside, drinking coffee, hitting on girls, paying your half of the mortgage.
Those are all your things. We each have our own unique interests. Okay.
Yours are self-destructive!
That's preposterous. Playing video games isn't self-destructive.
You don't just play them, they're your entire damn personality.
And drinking coffee isn't yours?
Hey! You'll leave God's sweet being nectar out of this.
You're a hypocrite!
A hypocrite that at least keeps a damn roof over our heads!
Oh my god, fine, I'll get a job! Is that what you wanted to hear?
That wouldn't fix a damn thing. You just blow your entire paycheck on more game products and probably crack, depending on how that college bathroom experience went.
God, there's just no pleasing you, is there? Fine, I'll use 7% of it on the mortgage.
20%.
Deal.
Boy, we are not good at this, are we?
Well, I'm gonna go make some more coffee. And probably take a shit.
I'll go talk to a career counselor, I guess.
Fuck.